made contact and shattered.
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag.
Law enforcement had considered Laundrie the only person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito.
Reference to a missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her. They've been yelling for her. She's been gone for about 10 minutes now.
Turn it over to another agency. Let's get some help.
Hello? It's gone.
Good morning, everybody. It's really dark here in the morning in upstate New York. I have the blinds open, but yeah, the lighting, this is as good as it's going to get when I'm not in my office and we do the morning live streams. So sorry it's a little bit dark. Good morning, everybody. We have a lot to go over. We have a lot to discuss. So I want to just do a brief intro, and then I'm going to get into the stuff that I've edited together and to play for you guys. So I pre-recorded myself reading the highlights from the autopsy. I'm not reading it word for word. It will be lengthy, but it's just the highlights. There will be a few mispronunciations on my behalf, which I'm so sorry for. I tried my best to get the terminology correctly and to make it seem, put together well, but after, reviewing it, by then it was too late to redo it. There was a word codenine, which was the substance that was found like in vape cartridges, like nicotine vapes or whatever. That I just want to specify, like recorrect myself on the pronunciation, codenine. And then there's a part where I'm talking about the descendant was found in the car. It's called the hold on. I have it. Decedent. So sorry about that. There might be mispronunciations of the officers' names too. So I just want to get that out there and get started with some stuff. I never claimed to be a medical professional, obviously. So my apologies there. And I don't need people correcting me in the comments. I already know. I could have gone back and re-edited it, but guys, I spent a lot of time on this, which was the other thing I was going to say. Like, yes, I'm just having coffee at home with you guys. You know that I have a 20-month-old, which is my main job. I think I'd said in a previous stream, like, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Like, if you believe my opinion, then, that's just what I am. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, why am I like trying to bring myself down? Like, you guys like what I edit together, and editing the visual together and recording the stuff that I do for you guys, I know you guys appreciate, and it sets me apart, I feel, because I don't do like morning streams with like a huge panel and let the panel guests like run the show. It's just me, and it's just my edited work and research. So I hope you like what I put together. And yeah, good morning, everybody. I'll say good morning as I'm in chat while I play this, okay? Because we have a lot to get through. So hello, and yeah, thanks for being here. And yeah, I have my coffee mug this morning. It's Frank Sinatra's mugshot. This used to be my dad's cup, but how are you guys doing? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, sweetie pie. I appreciate that. Thank you. So yeah, we'll get into it. Hi, Jonesy, Florida Bass, Nuan, good to see you. Insanely confused. Tom N coming in with a good morning super chat. Thank you so much. I feel there is foul play involved. I think that you're not the only one. I'm curious, actually, right now. Let's do a little tally in chat. If you feel like you're not really going by just what the autopsy report says, which says accidental drowning, and you think that there's foul play, press 1. If you're certain that it's just an accident, she drove herself in there herself, and it's just unfortunate, then just press 2 and I'll get the visuals going for you guys. And thank you again, Tom Man. So good to see you, and I hope you have a wonderful week coming up. I'm already seeing a lot of ones as I'm switching my screen. And again, feel free to tell me your thoughts, your real thoughts. Like, don't just say 1 because that's what we're saying. Good morning, Brookie. I seen Mike earlier saying that it was an accident, and he's been under that assumption for a while. So I'm totally open and respectful of everyone's opinions. So thank you again, guys. Let me just share my screen, like I said already. I just want to say a lot of channels have already done a really good job breaking this down and all that. So I hope you like what I've put together.
We're trying to find out exactly what happened at this point. We believe that someone knows, someone saw her, but they're not coming forward.
In this image, authorities say she was wearing a black bodysuit, a black studded belt, green Dickies pants, and black Vans. Additional images from the Placer County Sheriff's Office show a sweatshirt they believe is still in her possession, with eerie lyrics that say, "You don't want to be forgotten, you just want to disappear." Police haven't found any correlation between the words and her disappearance.
Without somebody coming forward to potentially reveal a critical piece of information that could lead us to Kiely, we really have nothing to go off of. So we'll continue our search.
On Wednesday, law enforcement expanding their search for Rodni. Dive teams scouring this lake. Teams also searching on the ground and by helicopter.
So, you know, there's a presumption after somebody has been gone at her age for a number of days that there might be foul play involved, but it appears they haven't found any. And so the real key is looking in logical places that she might be.
Rodni was last seen at Prosser Family Campground near Lake Tahoe, the site of a party she attended with hundreds of other teens.
I would say out of the about 300 people who were in attendance of that party, we've only been able to speak to a fraction of them.
Her best friend Sammy Smith says she was with Kiely the entire party and was the last person to contact her before she went missing.
We were going to leave together because later in the party I had asked her if she could give me a ride home, and then I realized that she was too intoxicated to give me a ride home, so I decided to try and find a different ride. We were both really drunk.
Kiely's mother, desperate for answers.
We have stories about the beginning of the night and the middle of the night, but we don't really have, there are no stories about her leaving, when she left, or who she left with. There's no stories of her car leaving.
Nevada County Sheriff's Office, reported by Deputy J. Thank you so much, Cynthia. I did. I put 2021 instead of 2022 for August there. So yeah, those were reports from 2022. Thank you for letting me know that. I'm like still stuck in editing that Gabby Petito documentary in my head, I think, and I was doing those dates. So sorry about that, but thank you for letting me know. Allegedly with Brittany J. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Good morning to you. I hope you had a great weekend. Tom N, another super chat saying a coroner report is not always the end all be all. And before I start playing this, which by the way, I am going to speed up the speed on this because it's me reading, and as I was reading, I was recording, so I was kind of going slow. I think you guys will be okay with the speed. For those watching on replay, if you need it slowed down, you could just do the little emblem here and slow it down to normal, just like I had it before. So anyways, what I was going to say is I watched the interview room last night with Chris McDonough, and he pretty much reiterated some stuff that I was sort of seeing already in the reports here. And there were notes and supplemental notes from law enforcement, and they would say something like follow-up report to be attached or something along the lines of insinuating that there was more reports to follow, but they weren't in this 18-page thing. And by the way, I'm not going to go through 18 pages for those who just joined us. I'm just doing the summary, and it's just pre-recorded. So I'm going to be in chat, talking to you guys in chat, and I'm going to be just talking to you guys there and let this play. And then I have notes that we can go through for after. Like Jonesy during that said, where are the sweatshirts? These are all things that I really want to discuss with you guys as soon as this recording's done. So for those who just joined us, like I said, there'll be a few medical mispronunciations on my behalf. I'm very sorry about that. It's really not too bad though. I think I did an okay job with the medical terminology, and the real reason why I'm not going into depth on certain things is because I'm just want to get the highlights out there for you guys. And you guys, I'm sure, have access to this full report if you needed to reference anything, okay? And good morning, Delana, and all of my other mods who have joined us. Good morning. Oh, allegedly with Brittany J, that is more than enough. So don't ever apologize. And thank you so much. All I really ask is for you guys to subscribe and hit the like button. If you end up sending me super chats or PayPal or whatever, obviously I will give you a shout out. And I want you guys to know that it's more than I can ever express in reference of gratitude for everything you guys do to support the channel. So thank you again. And let's listen to this. Jay Mackey, date 8/21/2022, time 6:58 p.m., time of arrival on scene, location Prosser Creek Reservoir, date reported 8/6/2022, time reported 10:07 a.m., date of death 8/21/2022, time of death 8:33 p.m., time of death pronounced 8:33 p.m. on 8/21/2022 by Deputy Jason Mackey. Place of death located in a 2013 Honda CRV. Organ tissue donor unknown. Contagious disease unknown. Medical information unknown. Cause of death pending investigation. Smoker, yes. Alcohol use, yes. Remains identified by pending forensic pathologist report. Marks, scars, and tattoos, none observed. Personal physician unknown. Personal dentist unknown. Next of kin, Lindsay Rodney Neiman and Daniel Rodney were contacted at California Highway Patrol's Truckee office at 9:45 p.m. on 8/21/2022 and notified there was a descendant located in the vehicle registered to Kiely Rodni. Positive identification was not able to be made at the time. Based on circumstantial evidence, the descendant was believed to be Kiely Rodni. They were advised of the pending pathologist report for confirmation of identity and a cause of death. Investigation. I was called to respond to Prosser Creek Reservoir to a peninsula southwest of Prosser Family Campgrounds. I was advised a female descendant was located within the cargo space of the vehicle Kiely Rodni was reported to have been driving. I responded to the location to handle the coroner's case. Scene. I arrived on scene at about 7 p.m. and FBI agents, FBI crime scene technicians, Placer County Sheriff's Office deputies, California Highway Patrol officers, Truckee Police Department and officers, and detectives from Nevada County Sheriff's Office were all near a tow truck. I spoke to Detective Sonnier, who advised me that law enforcement divers had hooked the tow truck's winch to a vehicle under the water and were assisting with recovering the vehicle. I waited until the vehicle was removed from the water and I was given permission to begin my investigation. Body position. There was a white female descendant located in the rear cargo compartment of the silver 2013 Honda CRV. The right leg of the descendant was against the pillar of the back seat and resting near the headrest. The remainder of the descendant was behind the seats and not visible from the outside of the vehicle. FBI agents and technicians donned Tyvek suits and protective gear and entered into the water. The body was removed under my supervision by FBI agents and FBI crime scene technicians. The body was placed into a large black vinyl body bag, visually inspected, and the bag was sealed. No items were removed from the descendant's person, and the remains were later transported by Truckee Tahoe Mortuary directly to the Placer County morgue. Body condition. The body showed obvious signs of bloating, lividity, and decomposition. There was skin sloughing, and no positive identification could be made due to the decomposition present on the face. Mortuary. Detective Sonnier told me the descendant was going to be transported directly to Placer County Morgue and scheduled for examination on Tuesday. No mortuary photographs were taken by this investigator. Statements. I was advised by Detective Sonnier that he believed the descendant was Kiely Mae Rodni based on his investigation. I did not obtain any additional statements related to this case while I was on the scene. Remains removed by Truckee Tahoe Mortuary Funeral Counselor Eliza Babcock arrived on scene and transported the descendant's remains to Placer County's morgue facility at approximately 21:20 hours on 8/21/2022. Property. No items of property were removed from the descendant. Any items taken from the scene will be noted in a supplemental report by investigators. Vehicle. I was told the silver 2013 Honda CRV was going to be towed by the FBI and taken to their facility in Sacramento for additional processing. I was advised the vehicle will be returned to Truckee, California Highway Patrol Office for their vehicle accident investigation team to perform their investigation. Case disposition. This case is pending the forensic pathologist findings for identification and cause of death. Forward to Chief Coroner Sergeant Klinkenberg. End of report. Attachments for photographs of the scene and the descendant refer to Detective Sonier's supplemental report. Supplemental report by Deputy Damian Norden on August 23, 2022 at 10:17 in the morning on Donner Pass Road, Truckee, California in Nevada County. Narrative. On August 23, 2022 at around 10:20 hours, I received a phone call from Captain Sam Brown. Captain Brown told me the descendant in the case number had been positively identified as Kiely Rodni. After I spoke to Captain Brown, I called the descendant's parents, Daniel Rodni and Lindsay Rodni Neiman. I offered to meet with Daniel and Lindsay. They both told me to update them on the phone. I told Daniel and Lindsay the descendant had been positively identified as Kiely Rodni. End of report. Narrative. Detective Josephine Strachan, date 8/23/2022 at around 08:30 hours. Location Placer County Morgue, Roseville, California. Information. On the above date and time, I attended the autopsy for descendant Kiely Rodni at the Placer County Morgue in Roseville. At the completion of the autopsy, I collected the following items of jewelry removed from the descendant: a piece of miscellaneous jewelry, bracelets from the right wrist, and necklaces and rings. Items were transported to the sheriff's property unit and booked. End of supplement. Supplemental report. Narrative. Nevada County Sheriff's Office. Reported by Sergeant Jason Klickenberg. Date October 12, 2022. Time 09:30 hours. Location Nevada County Sheriff's Office. Supplemental investigation. This report was forwarded to the Coroner Division by Deputy Mackey with the Patrol Division. On August 23, 2022, Placer County forensic pathologist Dr. Gregory Reber, MD, performed an autopsy on the remains of Kiely Mae Rodni. Positive identification of the descendant had been made by Detective Josephine Strachan during the autopsy. Detective Strachan was present during the autopsy and documented her observations and the method of identification in a supplemental report to the original missing persons report. I have recently reviewed the pathologist's final report of the autopsy, which listed the cause of death in this case as drowning. There were no other significant contributing conditions listed. I conferred with Detective Sonier, and he told me there was no indication of foul play regarding the criminal investigation into the death of Kiely. The manner of death in this case has been determined to be accidental. Case disposition closed. Accident. Toxicology report. Report issued 9/30/2022, 16:02 hours. Nevada County Coroner Sergeant Jason Klickenberg. Positive findings: ethanol, nicotine, caffeine, catenine, delta-9 carboxy THC. The results in units will be on the screen, and the matrix source was liver tissue. Here are the detailed findings. Analysis and comments. Ethanol 88. Liver tissue. Nicotine presumed positive. This test is an unconfirmed screen. Confirmation by a more definitive technique such as GCMS is recommended. Caffeine. This test is an unconfirmed screen. Confirmation by a more definitive technique such as a GCMS is recommended. Catenine. This test is an unconfirmed screen. Confirmed by a more definitive technique such as GCMS is recommended. Delta-9 carboxy THC positive from the liver tissue. Ethanol confirmed from the liver tissue. Other than the above findings, examination of the specimens submitted did not reveal any positive findings of toxicological significance by procedures outlined in the accompanying analysis summary. Reference comments. 1. Delta-9 carboxy THC came from the liver tissue, an active metabolite. Delta-9 THC is a principal psychoactive ingredient in marijuana or hashish. Delta-9 carboxy THCC is an inactive metabolite of THC. 2. Ethanol, ethyl alcohol, sampled from the liver tissue. Ethyl alcohol, ethanol, drinking alcohol, is a central nervous system depressant and can cause effects such as impaired judgment, reduced alertness, and impaired muscular coordination. Ethanol can also be a product of decomposition or degradation of biological samples. Sample comments. Qualitative analysis. Unless alternative arrangements are made by you, the remainder of the submitted specimens will be discarded 1 year from the date of this report, and generated data will be discarded 5 years from the date the analyses were performed. Analysis, summary, and reporting limits. All of the following tests were performed for this case. For each test, the compounds listed were included in the scope. The reporting limit listed for each compound represents the lowest concentration of the compound that will be reported as being positive. If the compound is listed as none detected, it is not present above the reporting limit. Please refer to the positive findings section of the report for those compounds that were identified as being present. Analysis, summary, and reporting limits will be shown on the page. Shannon Moon, Sheriff and Coroner, Nevada County Sheriff's Office Autopsy Report. Name, Rodni Kiely May. Age, 16 years, female, sex, white race. Type of examination, RO. Date and time of examination, 8/23/2022, 8:30 hours. Identifying characteristics, eyes unknown, hair blonde, height 66 inches, weight 103 pounds. The undersigned, having made an examination, find the cause of death to be immediate drowning. Specimens taken, toxicology, liver, stock tissue. Signed by forensic pathologist Gregory D. Reber, MD. Report of autopsy. Evidence of medical intervention. None. External examination. The unembalmed body is that of a slender white female in a state of moderate decomposition. There is generalized sloughing of the epidermis except for portions of the plantar skin which readily separate from the bottoms of the feet and bear multiple toenails. A separately submitted segment of sloughed epidermis from one of the hands also bears a single thumbnail. There is mild bloating of the body and generalized discoloration of the exposed dermis ranging from pale gray-green to dark maroon. There is no remaining rigor mortis and no lividity pattern is discernible. A strong odor of decomposition surrounds the remains. No post-mortem insect activity is present. The subject is normocephalic. There is no apparent external head trauma. The scalp hair is almost completely sloughed due to decomposition and consists of wavy blonde hair up to about 22 inches in maximum length. The facial features are distorted by decomposition and postmortem positioning. The eyes are discolored from decomposition, although there is definition between the coronae and the conjunctivae. The rest of the external examination will be left on the screen. It does state there are no obvious intraoral injuries, and that the neck has a slender, symmetrical exterior contour without evidence of injury. The abdomen also shows no evidence of external injury. The upper and lower extremities also show no apparent external trauma. There is no visible trauma on the back. Scars and identifying marks. A small stipple tattoo of the number 17 is on the lateral right hip. There is a vaguely defined longitudinal linear surgical scar on the ventral left wrist. Post-mortem radiographic scan demonstrates an orthopedic plate and multiple screws in the distal left radius. External evidence of injury. There is no apparent blunt or penetrating injuries seen externally. Post-mortem radiographic scan of the whole body also demonstrates no evidence of acute skeletal trauma. Internal evidence of injury. None. Internal examination. Opening incision in body cavities. The standard Y-shaped incision reveals the internal organs are normally arranged. Neck organs. The cervical spine is grossly intact. The hyoid bone and laryngeal cartilages show no fractures. There are no apparent strap muscle hemorrhages. Cardiovascular system. The heart weighs 90 grams and appears normally formed. Skeletal system. No acute skeletal injury is found on gross and radiographic examination. The head. Reflection of the scalp reveals light maroon staining of the deep scalp tissues predominantly on the right side, consistent with lividity under the effects of decomposition. The skull is intact and normal in thickness. The dura is smooth and intact. There is no evidence of epidural or subdural hemorrhage. Removal of the dura reveals no skull fractures. The brain reveals no evidence of hemorrhage. And the autopsy assistants were Destiny J. Moffett, Brittany Brand, and Chrissy Myers. Identification. A coroner's ID tag attached to the zipper pull of the body bag containing the descendant confirms the case number. Clothing. The upper body is covered by a spaghetti strap, black French cut bodysuit. A pair of black briefs are on the lower body as well. The lower body is also covered by green twill pants with a black belt through the belt loops, bearing multiple rivets. The belt appears buckled. A gray-green sneaker on the right foot along with a multicolored ankle-length sock. A matching sneaker accompanies the body within the body bag. A matching left sock is inside the loose left sneaker. Except for the shoe being off the left foot, the clothing appears relatively normal in position. Personal property includes a white metal hoop through a piercing in the left nasal. The right ear has 3 white metal hoops through the helix and a small crescent moon-shaped stud earring through a piercing in the earlobe. The left ear has a post through the helix, a small ball stud through the upper earlobe, and a crescent moon stud earring through the lower earlobe, also known as an industrial. 3 yellow metal chains around the neck, one of which has a small colorless stone, one of which has a small constellation-shaped pendant, and the third of which has a small disc-shaped pendant. An open, discolored yellow metal ring is on the left middle finger, and a heavy darkened yellow metal ring is on the right middle finger. There are 5 bracelets on the wrist on the right, including a tan elastic band, a black fabric bracelet, and a printed logo. A bracelet consisting of multiple black strings bearing a small disc-shaped pendant with an engraved letter, either P or D. The 4th bracelet is a light-colored beaded bracelet, and the 5th is a blue-green elastic band engraved with the lettering Bianchi and Lifetime C Otter Classic. A discolored string ankle around the right ankle, a piercing in the belly button, a white metal curved post with a small ball on the end, and a white and orange metal disc on the other end. The orange metal disc portion has a yellow center stone. Engraving around the stone on the orange metal part of the jewelry reads Winchester .38 SPL. Report of autopsy. Witnesses: Detective Josie Strachan and Detective Caleb Walker, Nevada County Sheriff's Department, Tamika McCain and Michelle Ramirez, FBI, Luis Montez D. OSHA Truckee Area CHP. Autopsy findings. Descendant found in submerged vehicle which was recovered from the inverted position in lake. Post-mortem changes consistent with prolonged water submersion. Moderate post-mortem decomposition. No external or internal evidence of significant injury. Post-mortem toxicology on liver tissue were positive for ethanol, possibly all or part from decomposition, nicotine, and codenine, caffeine, and delta-9 carboxy THC. CMMS Labs report. Radiographic scan showing orthopedic hardware, 2-column volar plate from open repair at distal left radius. Cause of death, drowning. Signed by Gregory D. Reber, MD, forensic pathologist, October 3rd, 2022. Nevada County Sheriff's Office, Shannon Moon, Sheriff and Coroner, and Public Administrator, releases this press release. Update on Kiely Rodni case, October 13th, 2022. Nevada City, California. The Coroner's Division of the Nevada County Sheriff's Office has ruled the death of Kiely Mae Rodni as accidental. This ruling is based on the pathologist's findings that her death was the result of drowning and that there was no other information to suggest she was a victim of foul play. As always, our office will continue to work with the family by evaluating any additional information related to this investigation. We ask that both the media and the public respect the family's privacy during this difficult time. Did I read through the clothing? I feel like I missed it. Or no, was it on there? Just want to make sure I covered everything. Let me rewind a little bit. Okay, yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you for those who have joined us since I started that. And thank you so much for listening to me read through that. A little bit of fumbling or mispronunciations, my apologies for. But I think overall, you guys understand everything that was discussed. And I wanted to say good morning to Twisted Gemini and those who did join us while I was doing all that. Thank you so much for being here. Let me grab my coffee, and then I've got other things, obviously, that I want to go through with you guys and get your thoughts and opinions on. If you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up, it would be greatly appreciated. And for those who are watching on replay, thank you so much. Okay, so let me look at my notes. Obviously, this is the positive findings page. We all understand that this is what was found, right? Like, I just wanted to show that because that's one of the main conclusions in this. The other thing I wanted to circle, I got to look at it on my phone because through StreamYard, it's so small. So bear with me. Okay, so the analysis, summary, and reporting limits, this is pretty much saying what it says on the right side of the screen, like how it has the numbers, like nanograms and all that. Like it pretty much is showing you the metrics used, and it explains like how to read it. But what I circled it for was, it says, please refer to the positive findings report for those compounds that were found to be present. So let me just rewind back and show you that. Okay, so it says presume positive, presume positive, presume positive for those ones. And then it says delta carboxy THC was for sure positive. And that's not really that much. It says nanograms. So I don't know, when I get to this one part, I was a little confused on it. I'm not saying it's anything weird. I'm just saying, like, for those who could maybe explain it, it's greatly appreciated. Like if you're in chat or if you're watching on replay, I was just a little bit like confused why. Hold on, let me find it on my phone. It says presume positive, and then we get over to, is it here? No. It's going way too fast. That was my fault during editing. There was like a part where it showed, okay. So on the right side, how it has them, and not only in that circled part does it explain like how to read it, but it also says that if nothing was found, like, let me get the exact words. Pretty much it's going to say, it says that it would state that it wasn't found or something. Okay, so if the compound is listed as none detected, it is not present above from the reporting limit. So then I look and I'm like trying to see if I can find the word not detected. And then it goes to, see that in bold print, not reported for the THC. So for those who maybe know this a little bit better, can read this, let me know what your thoughts are. So it pretty much says that on the front page that it was positive. And then on here, it says not reported, Delta 9 THC canceled due to sample matrix problem. Now, I don't know if they ended up doing a different test, like with the GCMS, because it says down on the page, like you might need to use that type of analysis to get a more clear indication. But I just thought it was interesting that on the positive findings page, it says positive for delta THC. And then on this page, it's saying not reported, and it says canceled due to sample matrix problems. And I don't know, I just thought that was sort of weird. I don't know what it means, but anytime I see like a scientific lab report with the word problem on it, I get a little concerned, because that's the last thing you really want when you're testing and all that, is for there to be some sort of problem with your sample. So I'm not saying that it means anyone or anything like shady or anything. I was just confused by that. So if anyone can explain why it shows up on the positive findings report, and then here it says not reported, and then it says due to some problem. I don't know if this page is just the first initial test and then they did the more extensive one, but I don't know. And then I know that everyone's been kind of talking about the alcohol levels, and I just want to get that out there, because it does say even in the 18-page report that definitively, like, they couldn't decipher whether or not that alcohol level was because of decomp or because of her drinking. So if you want to test somebody who's passed for alcohol, like drinking alcohol, you need to do it within, I believe, 48 hours. And the other thing that I noticed was they strictly took liver samples. They might have done, they had like a checkoff sheet with other samples, but I noticed that I didn't read anything in here about the vitreous fluid. Remember when we talked about toxicology and we referenced Barbara Butcher on Duty Ron, and she spoke about a good way to, get toxicology results and all that would be through the eyeballs of vitreous fluid. I didn't see anything on the report, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, that they tested that. Apparently that's one of like the best techniques to use, especially if she was waterlogged that long. So I just found that interesting, and you guys let me know what you think. We don't have a definitive analysis on, from what I see, from vitreous fluid, so I don't know. But the other thing I wanted to touch on that's already becoming a rumor a little bit was, what was the other thing? So we touched on the alcohol thing, and again, I've always said from day one, I'm not 100% positive that Kiely was wasted. There was a lot of hearsay and rumors, and those same people who were saying she was wasted were the same people who were contradicting their statements and tripping up on words and what happened, and the same people who left her at the party knowing, quote unquote, she was incredibly intoxicated. So the character of the eyewitnesses, in my opinion, is a little bit concerning, and I'm not 100% positive or feeling like she really was that wasted. Did she have a little bit of impairment? That I could definitely see, especially with the THC content. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but I mean, for those who smoke, and if you've smoked and drove nighttime, I mean, honestly, it's the depth perception that can really mess with you if you guys have ever done that, like in the past or whatever, when you're young or whatever. Hopefully no one's impaired driving now, but you know what I mean. Caroline says, I tried every way from Sunday to pull up the lab and test number provided by the interview room. There was nothing, not a zip. Anyone else check? That's interesting, Caroline, because remember last night, for those who watched it, he did say like, that's the other thing that I wanted to touch on. So there is a list for opioids. I don't know if it's on this sheet, but people were wondering why it didn't have it listed as tested, and it'll fall under the category of opioids, which it was tested. And like Caroline stating, Chris M from the interview rooms suggested for anyone who is questioning that, he's confident by the number of this lab test and all that it would state those were the compounds that it was tested for. So I haven't tried to look that up. I'm sure somebody else will try and get back to us, Caroline, but that's interesting. And I'm confident that it would have shown up if there were opioids in it because of that issue, and obviously that they were having in the county and many counties around there. Like, it pretty much says that it came up as 0 for opioid. So yes, thank you, EE Caroline. Fentanyl OD is ruled out. They tested opioids. There is no fentanyl. And we still have a DUI car wreck. We have the little collective of people who are doing damage control. I 100% agree that there could be some damage control going around. I'm going to share my thoughts pretty much with what I think is going on, or what I think is going on or happening with all this stuff. So we'll get there. Here, I wanted to pause it. I've got it on my phone to read. So I have recently reviewed the pathologist's report, blah, 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 blah. I conferred with Detective Sonier, and he told me there is no indication of foul play regarding the criminal investigation into the death of Kiely. The manner of death in this case has been determined to be accidental. So I just think that that's interesting because remember, when she was a missing person, Placer County was, sorry, I'm just reading Mrs. Kelly's comment. No, opioid is synthetic in fentanyl. It's an entirely different test. Okay, so what I suggest is pretty much doing what Caroline was saying and what Chris M. had said in the interview room. You can call that lab and you can give them the test number, or you can look it up and it'll tell you that the number indicates that they tested X, Y, and Z. So it's based on that, I guess. I don't know. But either way, I'm confident that that probably wasn't in her system. So when she was a missing person, Placer County was in charge of the investigation. They said when her body was found in the lake that they closed their investigation, which was the missing person case, and Nevada County and the FBI opened their own investigation, remember? And then they never came out and told us like what type of investigation it was. Like, they didn't say criminal, like they never came out and said, this is a criminal investigation. So for me to see it in words here, I thought was interesting. I conferred with Detective Sonier, and he told me there's no indication of foul play regarding the criminal investigation into the death of Kiely. I don't know. I just feel like if it was just a death investigation, then it would have said death investigation into the death of Kiely, or the investigation into the death of Kiely. It's just interesting how they have it right there, criminal investigation. So what gave them the indication that it was a criminal investigation? Because remember, it was a missing person case. Placer County Sheriff closed it. Then Nevada and FBI opened their own investigation. So maybe that's just what they call it, a criminal investigation. But I just thought that was interesting. You guys let me know your thoughts and opinions.
After midnight.
So here, I just wanted to express some things that I still have questions about. So that's what this little segment and clips are that I've kind of edited together. So I just want to know, hi, Allison Faye. Yeah, the whole investigation, quote, was done poorly from the start, in my opinion. I agree. I feel like it was always treated as an accident right from the start. The second they realized the car was there and the way they handled the crime scene, remember the SUV technically is the crime scene. They treated it with disregard. They left her items on the bottom of the lake. There was some black beanie that we don't know. That's the other thing I have questions on. Like, was there DNA on that black beanie? Whose was it? What is the black box going to give us? You know, would there even be information on there? Because from my understanding on the specialist on duty round, you guys let me know if I understood it wrong, but he was pretty much not really positive that there would be anything on there or significant on there or whatever, like slim chance or something. So I have questions about the crime scene, the way it was handled, you know, just not treated as a possible homicide, it was treated as accident from the very start. That's my opinion. And yes, Jesse, Jonesy earlier questioned, and I have questions too, where are the sweatshirts? Why did Sammy tell us that those weren't, and again, Sammy is 18. She's a legal adult. She's not a kid. She's not a kid. She's probably going on 19 soon. So she is a legal adult. She told all of us that those weren't the pants that Kiely was wearing. Then we looked through the autopsy report and the information, and they were the pants that she was wearing. Was she confused? I don't know. Just very strange, the misinformation that Sammy was putting out, in my opinion. And interesting that she thought it was an abduction solely. What else do I want to discuss before I play these? And remember, there was rumors and a post going around of Sammy saying on social media before she got rid of the page that she had a criminal defense lawyer. So, why would she need a criminal defense lawyer if that was really her account, which I believe it was, and then she ended up deleting it. So there is no wounds of, knife or gunshot on her body. She had all her jewelry. She had her laptop. The keys to her car, I haven't heard anything about, but there was obviously no robbery. The good news is there was no signs of assault of any kind, including SA. So for me, that was a relief. I don't know how you guys felt, but I was just like, there was just so many things that could have happened, and it was just, everything was going through my mind. So when I got the conclusion that she had all her necklaces on, so it had nothing to do with a fight and, her being like strangled with the necklaces, once I realized that there was no SA and all that, I was kind of like, okay. And I can't help but need this information to kind of settle things, down in my head. Hi, Pink Dahlia. So good to see you. So those were things that I was happy to hear, as far as if there could be any type of positivity in all this tragedy, but at least she wasn't attacked. And like I said, I still have questions on how drunk she was. I'm not necessarily going to believe these discredited witnesses. And the same people who will say AWP. Here's the thing about the AWP thing, which I want to touch on. We still don't know the time and date. Was that Friday morning? Maybe he even said it could have been right before she went missing. I need to know the time and date of that dash cam footage. I just want that information, Other people will say, no, he was 100% mistaken. It was a, eyewitness account, which you can't rely on. But then the same people who say that will say that Sammy was correct and Kiely was completely intoxicated. It's like they're both eyewitness accounts. You believe this eyewitness account because it plays into your narrative, but you don't believe the other eyewitness account. I'm not saying that the truck guy, roadside assistant guy, saw her on Saturday. I believe that it could very well have been Friday. And if she was asking these weird questions about her car and all that on Friday, and then she gets in a car accident Friday night, I can't help but be like, that's weird, So I just want to know that. Anyways, what else? Let me play this while I just look over some other things. But what I also came to the conclusion of is they told us that they were going to give us some redacted reports on November 1st at the earliest. Nothing in there from what I could see was really redacted. It just seemed pretty this is what it is, and some extra stuff in there that I didn't expect. So I'm curious, are we going to get CHP's reports and FBI's reports? Because this is stating, according to, and think about it from a scientific point of view, not from all this other stuff that we know. The ME is looking at her through the autopsy and he's concluding it was a drowning. And of course, the manner is going to be accidental because nobody really drowns on purpose. You know what I mean? So that's the scientific review of the information. I don't know if they have information on cell phones or information on other statements that people made during their interviews, because interviews are very important. And that's why we picked apart the interviews and all that they did on YouTube and on the media, because that's just a key piece in the investigation. So you go through the statements, and then you go through the evidence and the science. And right now the science is saying one thing, but I'm curious if the interviews are saying what we've kind of picked apart from what we've seen on the media interviews. You know what I mean? Like, were the cops kind of like, this is weird, because even in that first segment that I played when we started this video, Placer County said, we believe somebody saw her and they need to come forward. So that was in regards to her missing. I'm wondering if that was a feeling that they had because of an interview, or what made them believe that she was seen. You know what I mean? So let me play this again. This little segment that I've edited together is just going to be some questions that I still have, and I can pause it and kind of elaborate a little bit, but this is just a little thing I put together, okay? So give me 1 second, and thank you all for being here, and please hit that like button if you haven't already. It's much appreciated.
She had verbally communicated to her friends that she was wanting to go.
Okay, so pretty much I'm saying this whole thing, like the interviews and statements were very important, and they are still important into, the questions and all that I still need answers to. And the timeline of when people
Shortly after midnight, she had verbally communicated to her friends.
So around midnight, a little after midnight, she verbally communicated to her friends that she wanted to go home.
That she was wanting to go home.
Detectives say the last time her cell phone pinged was 33 minutes past midnight.
So she pinged 33 minutes after midnight. People said that, her phone died in the water. I don't know where her phone is. And last I seen on one of the videos that were out there, I think SF put out, the grandfather asked if he had seen her phone down there. So that's a little bit questionable. We don't know, what text messages were on that phone, or was she telling people she was leaving, or I'm about to leave and text you when I'm home. We just don't know. That's a vital piece of evidence. And if this was exactly just her by herself driving behind the wheel as an accident, it shouldn't be too hard to find her phone, right? So she's at last located at the campground at 12:03. She tells her friends shortly after midnight she wants to go home. Last location through Snapchat showed 12:30, and then her phone is completely gone by 12:33. Sammy, her friend, claims that she spoke with her at 12:36. So somehow Kiely's speaking with her friend while she's already in the water. Am I understanding that, guys? So I have a few questions, that's all. Good morning, Lucia. It's good to see you. Here's another statement. All right, so last ping, 12:33. Keep that in mind. Here's a quote from Sammy. The last time I saw Kiely was around 12:25 in the morning of the party. I was leaving and I gave her a hug, telling her I loved her and goodbye for her to get home safe or be safe. She was having a fun time at the party, just being a teenager. So 12:25, she's hugging her. And we have people mapping out that she went into the water according to that footage from the fire cam. Am I understanding that right? If I'm not, I don't ever come on here like I know everything. So I'm on here. I want to discuss with you guys. And if you guys are watching on replay, let me know. Let me know if I'm understanding it wrong, because I'm under the impression at 12:25 right now. I mean, Kiely's driving, or, I don't know. Am I not understanding this? I thought that they mapped out that her car went in like 12:30. Yeah, Sammy sits on a throne of lies. That's the problem. That's why it's like, okay, She's almost 19. Why is everything she's saying just still leaving me with questions, okay? And how is she speaking with her at 12:36? Her car is in the water at that point. Again, if I'm wrong or if I'm not understanding the information that's been given to us, please let me know. The other issue, so Sammy statements, maybe she's mistaken. We can chalk that up to it, right? Elsa, also at the party, friends with Sammy. She says to the media early on, she saw Kiely around midnight. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That could play into the timeline, right? Especially since we see the fire cam footage and it shows us her car going into the water. So if she saw her around midnight, okay, that sounds a little bit more believable than Sammy seeing her around 12:25, in my opinion. So then we have a web sleuth who is a moderator on this channel, and I'm sure you guys have seen her channel, and subscribe if you haven't. Amanda S. Vita gets a hold of Elsa on social media. Found you after reading an article where you're named as the only person to confirm Kiely was at Prosser. She for sure was. Elsa's response: yes, I spoke to her at 12:30. What article? And then I don't have the reply, but she basically tells her the article, and then Elsa tells her that they misquoted her. So now Elsa's changed her time to 12:30. So how is Elsa speaking to Kiely? At this point, isn't Kiely in her car by herself driving, allegedly? I don't know, guys. Please help me understand this. So Elsa changes 12 o'clock to 12:30. All right. This is all before her data was found, or the fire camera data video was found, right? So then we have the rumor, it's not on the screen, but remember when Chronicles of Olivia came out with Jane Doe 2 and everyone's like, that's Elsa? I don't know if it was ever 100% confirmed. People speculated and were positive that it was. I'm going to say that it was, but Jane Doe 2 was a female at the party who came out saying that she saw her around 1 a.m. So if that's Elsa, did she change it from midnight to 12:30 to 1 a.m.? Again, this is all before that fire cam footage was found. It always seemed to me like her friends were trying to place her alive after the time of when she wasn't alive. You know, like even 12:36, Sammy's on the phone with her. How can that be? Hold on, I got to top this coffee off. Thank you guys for being here. Please like this video if you haven't. And hello, Bella Dia. It's good to see you. I just have some questions, guys. I'm just trying to make all the statements make sense with the science that we have. We have the fire cam footage and we have the autopsy and all that, you know, and it's pretty much saying accidental drowning. So I can believe that she was in the car and it was an accident. I can believe that. But what I want to know is who else was with her? Who else witnessed it? Did somebody accidentally bump her vehicle? Like they're out there doing stunts like we'd seen them doing? Did something happen? You know, we see here early on in the investigation, her friends and family said that her car had no scratches or identifiable dents. They even said at first she didn't have any stickers. And then we've looked closer at the footage and we see a little bit of scratching on the back of the vehicle, not to mention that seatbelt hanging out. I'm not even referring to that, just referring to the scratches that we've seen on the vehicle. So how did those scratches get there? So now I have statements from the friends and witnesses that aren't adding up with the timeline. And now I got these visible scratches on the car. You know, where did those come from? The SUV is a key piece of evidence. We need CHP's report and we need FBI's report after they did forensics and all that on the vehicle. You know, was she asleep in the back of the vehicle and someone was driving her home? Was she with somebody driving and they were in the passenger seat? You know what I mean? But they left and didn't say anything, you know? And it's like, these things happen. There's, you know, sometimes people do the wrong thing. And say somebody just witnessed her go into the water and didn't say anything, you know, as it's just the right thing to do. You don't have a legal obligation, I guess, if you, from what I see, if you witness a car accident or something, like, you're just the outside person, you're not involved. So there is no like legal you know, anything that happens to you, like if you're just a witness, like you won't get in trouble. But, you know, if somebody bumped her vehicle or if there was some sort of whatever, then maybe it explains the scratch on the car. I don't know, guys, but I almost wonder if a little bit of Sammy's shadiness, I guess you could say it, or inconsistencies come from maybe she witnessed something and just didn't say anything. Like maybe she wasn't in the car, but she saw it happen. You know what I mean? And she's hiding that aspect. I don't know. I think it could be a lot of different things. I think that it could even be, you know, Sammy was driving. I just don't know. So Justice A to Z says there is a legal obligation. I thought I looked it up and I could have just typed in the wrong thing on Google, but from what I see, like you don't have, like, as a witness, if you're not involved, like you really have no legal obligation to do anything. But it does basically say, like, it's not the right thing to do. It's not the moral thing to do. But we've seen things in this case where I question people's morality too. You know, you leave your drunk friend there. That's also not a crime, but it's just a moral compass that's a little bit off. But I don't know. If you're certified in CPR, you're legally required to stop. Interesting. Thank you, Christina. That is very appreciative. Okay, New York City. Was that, do you know if that is, can you find that? And is it relevant in California? And again, anyone watching on replay, if you guys find anything that indicates a law that you have to stop if you witness the accident. I'm not saying you leave the scene of the accident and you're part of it. I'm saying if you're just the witness, from what I did in my research, it doesn't seem like you're really legally required to do anything. So from my stance of it is like, did people witness it and leave? Yeah, I think they did, because we see other headlights on that screen or on that footage. Apparently they left. And remember, the mass exit around 12:30, they saw something or they had heard of something that happened and left, in my opinion. Okay, Justice AZ, I'm strictly referring to a car accident, not those other crimes, but thank you, though. Yeah, the mass exodus to me is more circumstantial evidence that something occurred, but interesting it was at 12:30 and Sammy's on the phone with Kiely at 12:36 still. Exactly, Brookie. Wonder why Sammy has a criminal lawyer. And that was a rumor, but I think that was her real account, and then she deleted it. Okay, there's more I want to share with you guys. So this little segment obviously is filled with questions I still have. So we've gone through some of them, and let me play the rest. And thank you guys for being here. So I just want to know, like, where these screens.
When do you think that this took place? Or was it before?
And this, of course, I have questions about. If this was Friday morning, you know, I'd like to know that. I'd like to know the time and date of the dash cam footage. If it's Friday morning and she's asking about her car and all that, then that's interesting. You know what I mean? Before the party, she had car issues and all that. That's interesting. Or was he completely mistaken and this whole thing was just BS? You guys let me know what you think in chat right now and on replay while I play this. But yeah, this is just another piece to the puzzle that I still have questions on. I feel like they need to release the rest of their footage, honestly, AWP, and I'm not showing any disrespect. I'm just saying it would be nice to know, since they had said that they had more information on the case and we're all invested.
Or during the day after she disappeared,
To be honest with you, it's either right after she disappeared or right before she disappeared. But it was around noonish, like 11 o'clock in the morning when I got out to her.
So again, here's the infamous fire cam footage. You know, and pretty much I just want to sum up my thoughts right now. We do need to get the CHP and the FBI's report. I do, I guess I would say I agree with this toxicology and all that. Like, I think the autopsy, while it's not the full one, I don't think, I do pretty much concur with it being a drowning and it being, you know, obviously she didn't choose to drown on purpose. So of course it would be listed as an accident. The other thing with, yeah, Caroline, you're not the only one that's been bothered by that too. The other thing that I'm thinking too is, listen, like any other case that we've studied, they need evidence, you know, and her body had no signs of injury to it. So obviously there was no sign of attack on her or anything like that. She was completely clothed. That was another thing that was mysterious. You know, was she dressed or not? She was. So looking at this all on a scientific, you know, just looking it over, you know, she accidentally drowned. That's what it says. The lung aspect that, you know, people have said there wasn't a lot in her lungs. Well, you have to think about the metamorphosis taking place on that body, sadly, underwater that long. You know, it's changing in ways that, I mean, you can read the whole report. It describes her all the way down to what toenails she still had. It's just, things change on the body. So when things bloat and when gas is released, the stuff in the body is changing. So the water in the lungs obviously could have drained out from the release of the bloat. We discussed this a lot in the Watts case, like when they talk about baby Nico and how he was found. I won't get into detail, but, you know, it goes down to, you know, bloat from decomp and then release of it. So the things that I have questions on is, you know, her being in the trunk. Was that panic and she went back there? Disoriented in the car, you know, was she in the back seat actually and sleeping and someone else was driving? Or was she laying in the trunk sleeping and someone else was driving? That is just the questions that I still have. And I think that honestly, it could be an accidental drowning on paper, and there could still be other people in the car with her at that point or witnessed it, or perhaps their vehicle accidentally bumped her in. I think that those are still all things that are on the table. So when you look at it from a aspect of and Lisa, you're not the only one that doesn't believe the fire cam. So I know, and it is very strange timing for that to be found. So if you're looking at it from like a legal aspect, you know, the prosecution, let's pretend there is a criminal case, and they're going after some people that they think were involved. You know, those people lawyer up, like we've already speculated that they did. If you're their lawyer, aren't you going to say to whoever's trying to come down at you that you cannot prove that my client's in that vehicle. You cannot prove that that's her vehicle on this scene and she bumped her vehicle in there. You know, there's things that can be explained. Once somebody's DNA comes up in that vehicle, remember Sammy has already explained she was at the vehicle and drunk and was drinking with her in the car. So she's explained why her fingerprints might be found on there. And if you're her lawyer, you're going to say, my client already told you she was with her. That's why it's there. Like, you don't have anything on my client. She wasn't driving, you know. I mean, it's basically Sammy's word against the prosecution. So there needs to be direct, I don't know, some evidence that's solid. And if they don't have it, then they can't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, if you had a lawyer and you did absolutely nothing wrong and your lawyer was bending over backwards for you, you'd be like, okay, great. Like, yeah, make sure like you keep me out of this situation. I'm innocent. Well, the lawyer is going to do the same thing for people who are guilty, but you know, they're under the presumption that they are innocent or something. You know, they're going to be defended, and anything that we can try to come at Sammy on, she's already explained it. You know what I mean? So Delana says, why did law enforcement never release anything else they had that we never see yet, like pics, videos, or pics of Kiely in the sweatshirt at the party? Exactly. I'd like to see even the full CCTV footage of her in that store. Maybe that'll come out with the redacted information on November 1st. I don't know. Caroline says, I 100% believe the fire cam. The most insane idea is that there is any incentive to fake up fire cam footage, including archives for years on end. You got to stop thinking this is a TV show. I can definitely concur with that angle as well. I mean, right now I'm confident that the fire cam is real, but it's still hard to say what I'm looking at in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say that nobody else was with Kiely, and I can't say that nobody else didn't accidentally bump her car in there and then leave the scene of the accident. Like, I can't say any of that, but I do see something, and I don't think that it would be made up. But that's just my opinion, and I hope you guys understand that we all are going to have different opinions. So I'm just happy to have you guys here listening to mine and sharing yours. So here's another question I have. You know, why was Cody's name written down on Sammy's paper there? Another mistake, if Sammy is involved, that, you know, it's the fact that law enforcement left her in charge of, you know, collecting evidence. She even said in that one article, call me if you find a bumper or a license plate. So think about it from a prosecution aspect. You know, she was so close to things that now it's like, oops, like, it's just another mistake, in my opinion. You know, they let her say somebody was like, oh, I think I saw somebody accidentally bump her car or whatever. And they're writing down the information and they're like, okay, yeah, we'll pass that on to law enforcement, and then never do. And then that kid who thought they saw something never gets his statement put down. Who knows? All I'm saying is it was strange to have her that close to things, in my opinion. And you know, why did she write down this guy's name? Just another question I have. You know, he's the one that was doing all those pranks in the cars in the water. So it's just weird. So yeah, the other thing, obviously, the seatbelt in the back. There's a better visual too of the scratches that I want more information on. But this seatbelt, why is that hanging out there? I mean, there's just questions we have, obviously, that we'd like the answers on. And maybe that would come up in CHP's report. I'm not sure. And remember when law enforcement looked like they were interested in a black BMW and they were like, where did you hear that? We've shared it on other live streams. That's another thing I'd like to know, whatever ended up coming of that tip or whatever, or that information. So it's definitely possible. Mama Lynn's, she said, it looks as though her car went into the water.
Shani Jones wants to ask you.
Sorry, that was another part. Okay, it looks like her car went into the water. At least one person got out, broken window, and Kiely did not, but nothing was said, just my opinion. I definitely think that that's possible. And how would you ever prove that? You know what I mean? Like, how it would just be these kids who were involved in it and don't want anyone to know. They'll just keep lying, like, no, it wasn't me, or I wasn't there. Then they say, well, we want your phone records and we're going to subpoena your phone records. We want to know your whereabouts. Well, guess what? Sammy has already said, I was on the phone with Kiely at 12:36. Okay, so now she's kind of laid the ground for why her phone might ping in the area. Remember? Because when she's getting on the highway, she says, we were only like 2 minutes away or something, in reference to how close she was still to Prosser, but still leaving. So there we go. Another track that Sammy's already covered. You know, she's going to explain why maybe her phone might ping in the area. Well, I told you guys I was leaving the area at that time on the phone with her. So it's just all stuff that can be explained. So they might not be able to list it as foul play because they don't have that right now. You know what I mean? Yeah, I far Canal, I noticed that too. Why did the mother say we don't want to bust anyone else? Yeah, that was a weird statement. That was very early on. That was in the first 48 hours video I did. So, okay, so this is another little thing I wanted to piece together. Could be something, could be nothing, but I just wanted to lay it out there for you guys too, okay?
On your last call, did she let you know who the quote unquote friend was that was driving her home?
Yeah, so this is a common misconception. She was not being driven home and she was not driving. So, okay. She was not being driven home and she was not driving.
So I don't know if that was just a slip of the tongue, Freudian slip, just a mistake in her speaking, but it's interesting to think of what if she was telling the truth there for a second? She wasn't driving. Okay. So was she in the passenger seat? Was she passed out in the back? Was she passed out in the trunk? I just found that interesting. Remember when she slips up there and says that? So how are you guys feeling about all that I've laid out? I do have something else I wanted to go through too. I'm curious if you guys have seen this. And hello, Sleepless in South Africa. It's good to see you. Yeah, she was so suspect. I agree, Gregory. I mean, I think that we all have the same feelings for a reason, and it's not because we're doing a witch hunt. You know what I mean? There's just something off there, and we can't deny it. Yeah, way too many slip of the tongues, in my opinion. I agree. So, and remember, she corrects herself there. She like tries to do the whole conversation over again after she says she was not driving. So, just a lot of questions of why she was in the trunk. You know, the car flips upside down, so then she would have to crawl like in between those seats. Like she wouldn't be swimming over it into the back. I don't need to explain all that. You guys know. So, this was on Law and Crime Network. I need to grab my laptop charger too. So let me just share the screen. Hopefully, hold on, give me a second. Let me make sure an ad doesn't pop up as soon as I start it. This came out, I want to say on Friday or Saturday. Yeah, Cat's Meow. I think that is incredibly possible and would make sense that it was an accident. People saw it and didn't do anything, which is still wrong. You know, whether they saw it from not being in the car or whether they were in the car and got out, whether they were in another car. And, you know, people have said to me, like, I see another car, like right before she goes in the water and it looks like they bumped her in there. I haven't looked that close, but I'm telling you guys the things that you guys are saying to me. I think it's definitely possible people were in a position that maybe they could have called 911 right away. Maybe she wouldn't have been saved, but maybe she could have been found. And of course, they'd have to explain what ended up happening. But so this right here is, did you guys see this? Press 1 if you've seen this. Came out over the weekend. Everyone knows that this guy is a ME, I believe. You know, he does a lot of the commentary on true crime cases. Very, very interesting guy. It is a moral issue. I just couldn't live with myself. I agree. And isn't that what that one movie's called? I Know What You Did Last Summer. Isn't that like kids witness something and then they like don't say anything and then like the spirit comes back and haunts them? I could be totally wrong, but all right. So let me play this and then we can just share our thoughts. And that's all I have for you guys. I do think that there are still reports that we're waiting on. We just only were given the autopsy and, the synopsis of the case notes so far. I'm curious what the black box, if anything, will show anything. I'm curious, of course, was the car in drive? The other thing about Hondas is it's not automatic lights. So her lights would not have been on because it was nighttime and they're automatic. Hondas, you have to turn a knob for the lights to turn on. So, was her car in drive? Was her headlights turned on? These are all things we want to know. Yeah, Lisa, I didn't know that either, but it makes sense. Her age and all that. She didn't have a driver's license, only a permit. And in California, teens are not allowed to be driving after 9 o'clock. I think it's like that in New York too. Yes, they kept what happened silent. Loved that movie. And what can you do? Like, if you're the prosecution, how can you prove that somebody saw something they didn't say anything? Like, it's just impossible. So I've said from day one, I bet you, especially after the fire cam footage came out, I said, they're going to label this as an accident because there's going to be no way to link somebody to this, or there's going to be no way to charge somebody who just witnessed this. You know what I mean? Okay, so let me play this for you guys. Yeah, apparently, and again, I don't want to bash the family, but yes, Pink Dahlia, her mom was okay with her driving when it wasn't legal. And in fact, in that one interview, she says, I told her to come in and wake me up when she got home like she always does. And I'm just thinking, so there's like a habit of her being out driving late at night and coming in to tell you she's home. I don't know. That was just something that stood out to me, which I don't know. Just going to leave that there. But, I do feel for, obviously, anyone who loses a child. It's not anything to speak badly on, obviously, because God forbid it would happen to any of us. Sammy said the party was like Lord of the Flies. That's true. Okay, so let me play this, guys. And thanks again for being here. If you haven't liked the stream, please do so.
Hey, no worries, buddy. Good to be with you.
Now, let's first start off. There hasn't been you haven't had a copy of the autopsy report, right? So we are kind of limited in what we can understand. But what authority?
Oh, jeez. Sorry, guys. A little bit of inspirational music. Sherwin Williams. But thank you again, guys, for being here. Much appreciated.
Is that the autopsy has revealed this to be accidental drowning. What was your reaction to that, and how do we know that?
Well, obviously there were findings at the autopsy that would have given them an indication that this young woman would have drowned. And just so that we understand, one of the things we look for at autopsy, particularly when we find bodies that are submerged, are going to be the weight of the lungs. There's a standard weight dependent upon the person's size. And for her, she's roughly 16 years of age, slightly built. And there's an expectation she's going to fall within certain ranges. And that is the weight of her lungs. This is something that's long established. So when you begin to get up into those higher estimates, that is one indicator regarding weighted lungs, where the lungs are heavily congested, and there's indication that she would have been in respiratory failure as a result of being in this aquatic environment. That's part of it. Now you can wind up drowning in any number of ways, and that doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're drowned that it's an accidental death. However, there was not any other indication on the part of the ME to give them pause to think that this is anything other than an accidental death. And so listeners understand, we in the medical legal community go in with the working assumption that every death, and I mean every death, I don't care how benign it might appear on the surface, every death is a homicide until proven otherwise, because you can't unring the bell, to use, one of those lawyer terms you guys like to use. You can't unring it. You can't go back and get a do-over. So, they kind of tick the boxes relative to this, and that's what they came up with. I'm very, very curious to read the full autopsy report.
Let's get into this. So you said that there are not other outward signs to indicate foul play, that this was murder. I want to get into that because her body was bloated, it was livid, it was decomposing, so much so that it couldn't be identified due to the decomposition that was present on the face. Now, it's indicated that there were no signs of significant external or internal injuries. From a layperson's point of view, I'm thinking, well, if there is this level of decomposition and damage to the body, maybe there were injuries, but we just can't see it. Maybe she was harmed, but we can't see it. And am I totally off here?
No, absolutely not. And that's certainly something that we take into consideration. And you begin to kind of, when decomposition manifests, sometimes it can mask underlying injury, and you're right on target. We've been hanging out long enough together, obviously, Jesse. So that's part of it. And you have to be very careful. You're going to take, I'm not saying you're not careful in every single autopsy, but you have to take more care with a decomp autopsy, because things can have a tendency to be hidden from you. And in this case, they would have looked at, let me see if I can explain this in kind of kinder terms. The body, there will be a certain amount of discoloration with the body as a result of decomposition. You have to be able to delineate between the postmortem changes relative to the antemortem event, or what's called a perimortem event, which kind of means in the throes of death. So what you would be looking for is to kind of suss out exactly whether any focal areas of hemorrhage. Is there any sign that her body, as a result of some kind of external injury, was reacting through hemorrhage? That's one of the things that you look for. And then you have to marry that up with what you know about decomposition. And it takes a keen eye to kind of be able to make your way through this and kind of understand it. I found it interesting, what little I know about the case is that she was obviously unbelted, because she was essentially found in the rear of the vehicle, one shoe on, one shoe off.
Let's just jump into that for a second if we can, because so two of the SUV's windows were either down or broken, which is curious. And as you said, she was found in the rear cargo compartment of the SUV with her right leg against the pillar of the back seat and resting near the headrest. So now I'm wondering, again, A, foul play, or B, is this somebody who was trying to escape?
Yeah, and that gives you an indication of potential disorientation. One other point we have to make here is that the vehicle was inverted. So the vehicle is essentially either almost completely on its top or kind of listing toward that way. There's that grainy screen capture that's floating around the internet right now that they took. You can see the plate and that sort of thing. And the thing is, the vehicle is kind of dependent on the left upper side, and it's kind of hanging in there. She's in 14 feet of water, Jesse. And so there would be disorientation. Remember, this occurred at night. So there's not even, and at 14 feet, you're not going to have a lot of light down in there anyway, depending upon what the bottom is like. Is it muddy, murky, that sort of thing? Sometimes you go on dives, you can't see your hand in front of your face, depending upon the environment you're on. This is not the Caribbean, all right? So you're not going to be able to see real well. Can you imagine being, essentially diving or plunging in your vehicle into this cold water, which it was probably very cold. We're talking about in the area of Truckee, California, inverted, and then it's dark outside. You don't know, you can't even see your bubbles to see where they're going, if they're going up and that sort of thing as air is escaping. And, there's kind of a concussive event that occurs too. And I'd be really interested to know what her brain looked like.
Okay, hold on.
It was just like 2 days after my birthday, and my friend just graduated.
All I have to say too is right here. He said it'd be really interesting to know what her brain looked like. Well, if you look through the 18 pages, it has things that were examined or whatever, and it lists brain, and it looked like there was a check mark next to it, but then it looked like it was like either. That's the thing. If it's digital, I don't know how you would be able to digitally white it out, but it did look strange. If you guys have seen the report, you'll know what I'm referring to. And Florida bass fishing, you're right on point there, and that's pretty much the gist of this whole live stream summed up in one comment from my wonderful moderator, Florida Bass Fishing. He says, I think we all know drowning was the cause of death. That's not the issue. The issue is, did she drive the SUV into the lake because she was so intoxicated, or was there foul play? Autopsy won't show that. And that's the thing, is like the autopsy obviously is just to show us the cause and manner of death. And, the toxicology, the toxicology could be that way because she was the passenger. That doesn't prove like the science of like what was going on in the crime scene. That just proves what happened to her body. But the other issue is, how could you prove that somebody else was there? How could you prove another car was the result of this accident? If they left the scene, it would be so hard for them to prove, yep, somebody else was in the car with her, or yep, her car was bumped, or somebody witnessed this and didn't say so. So I'm very curious if anything will come from the CHP report or the FBI report and forensics on the car that would indicate foul play too. Or are they going to come back and be like, there was no evidence of foul play? That's the other thing, guys. Just because there's no evidence of foul play, like this guy just said, that doesn't mean that there was no foul play. Like, we don't know like every little detail, but from the science of her body and autopsy, it's pretty much saying accidental drowning. So that's all we know so far. We still have lots of questions on other things. Good morning, Marshall Dove. It's so good to see you. We touched on why her lungs might not have had that much water in them. And we've speculated, and professionals have also speculated that it could be from the decomp process and gases being bloated and released, which, once the body is going through this metamorphosis, things might change. Think about comparing her body to another person who drowned. That's a good thing to do. But at the same time, you would have to make sure that other body that you're comparing this autopsy to had the same temperature water, was in the same length of time in the water. Sorry, my coffee maker's beeping. But you know what I mean? Every little thing would have to be aligned with, if you want to compare. Let me finish this little segment, and thank you guys all so much for being here.
Internally, if there was any kind of indication of blunt force impact that would have been consistent with a car accident. You see that a lot. So you've got a lot going on here. And of course, there's the toxicology report as well.
So the coroner's division of the Nevada County Sheriff's Office is the one that ruled this death an accident. They indicated, the investigators, that they're still going to evaluate any additional information related to this investigation. They're going to work with the family on that. Have you ever, and look, I'm not trying to fuel speculation here whatsoever, but given the curious circumstances of this, I have to ask you, and we have about a minute and a half left. Have you ever seen a situation where there could be, a sheriff's office comes out and said, this is the initial autopsy findings, it's an accident. And then later on, they look at it and say, we were wrong. We did a reevaluation. This was not an accident. This was something else. Or the family or someone else hires an independent autopsy and they determine it wasn't an accident. Given these kinds of circumstances, I guess the question I'm asking is this the end of the story truly, or is this just a part of it?
Well, it sounds like that the coroner's office has come to the conclusion that this is as it appears to them. In answer to your question, Jesse, yes, I have seen where they initially rule an accident, but generally it's not going to jump to something other as far as the manner of death other than undetermined, and that'll be like pending further investigation. I think probably the totality of the circumstances coupled with the toxicology report that indicated that she had THC on board. There's ethanol, which is essentially her alcohol content, which I think was 0.088, which is just over legal limit. But alcohol or ethanol is actually produced in the decomposition process. So it's kind of hard. And she had been down for a while. So it's kind of hard to kind of, separate those two. But we do know she had THC in her system. So was she impaired in her driving? I think that factored into it too as well, Jesse.
Yeah, because she was last seen at a party in the Tahoe National Forest area. Again, whatever the circumstances of this are, it is a complete tragedy, and you just wish this never would have happened. Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time, and Joseph.
So, yes, Allison, that's a good comment. With water gushing in through the windows, she wouldn't have made it into the hatch. Yeah, I mean, it's a trunk. It flipped upside down. I could think maybe she'd be in the back seat from panic. You know what I mean? But to end up in the trunk area, to me, it's very hard to imagine. I haven't seen like a recreation of it, and I don't think any of us can really state like whether or not 100%, I'm talking about percentages, that it was impossible to do, but it is hard to believe in my opinion. And yeah, no airbags deployed. Alicia said they decided this was an accident right at the scene when she was pulled out of the lake. I don't think they even did a real investigation at all once Kiely was found. It was all just going through. Yeah, I think so too. And we stated that earlier in the stream, like this was treated not as a homicide. This was treated right at the scene as an accident. The way they handled the evidence, it's just clear that it was just mishandled. You can't argue that. What I don't understand is people who went from calling out all this mishaps, which is right in our face with law enforcement, who are still saying, who are now saying like, well, it is what it is. And it's like, but how can you trust this because of everything that they did wrong? I don't know. That's just me. I have to question things. That's how I am. People might think it's stirring the pot, but that's just how I am. So take it or leave it. I'm not just going to bend over and agree with something that I just still have questions about. Thank you so much, Florida Bass Fishing, and all my moderators too. I really appreciate it. How long can a case be pending or undetermined? Are cold cases all in undetermined statuses and pending? I wonder. I think so. Jagger is camping at the Rodney residence. The Smiths are going to buy the property. It's all about the sale of the property. What? I'd like to see proof there, but interesting. Yeah, did he say it was a hallucinogen? It's just a psychoactive ingredient. Does psychoactive mean hallucinogen? I don't think so. I don't know. All I know is I do agree that THC, being someone who uses it for medicinal purposes, and I have a medical license for those who are concerned, it can impair, especially night driving. Like, I mean, you can definitely have a lost sense of depth perception. So, but I'm not saying that this wasn't foul play or that this was an accident 100%. I do believe her drowning was an accident, and nobody chooses to drown on purpose. But I'm not convinced that other people didn't see it. I mean, could Sammy have just been a witness that didn't step up? And that's why she's come across as, inconsistent and, I mean, flat out lying. I don't know. I think it's possible. One thing I did notice, and you guys let me know if you noticed it or if I'm off base here, it looked as though Shannon Moon, the sheriff, wasn't on any of like she wasn't listed as a witness at the autopsy. She wasn't listed as the coroner. I think it was her deputy coroner who was at the scene. So to me, it was just like kind of weird to see like the sheriff like so far removed, but maybe it was because of people kind of being concerned that she was the sheriff in the coroner. I don't know. It just seemed like she wasn't like very involved in that paperwork. All the reports were from other people. She had like her name on the coroner stuff, but I don't know. It just seemed like at the scene, I didn't see her listed there. Maybe she was there and we just haven't gotten her report yet. But I'm curious to see any of her stuff, if that'll come out on November 1st when, she had mentioned a redacted version of information being allowed. So I don't know, guys. Where are you guys at? To be completely honest, just because the cause and manner is accidental drowning, to me, it's like there could still be other things that are leaning towards this still being a criminal investigation. I mean, they listed it right in that paperwork that they concluded that there was no foul play on the body during the exam in regards to the criminal investigation of Kiely's death. So they worded it right in that paperwork, criminal investigation. Now, I raised question is if that's just normal to put on for a death investigation or what, but just that's where right now I'm not 100% in agreement that nobody witnessed this and all that. Did Sammy leave her friend intoxicated at the party? Is that questionable? Yeah, it is, and on a moral level. Is she the type of person, if she did that, if she witnessed something and didn't call 911, I feel like that could happen too. I mean, if you're going to behave this way, that's not very good. Then would you be somebody who would keep quiet if you saw something and didn't choose to step up? Or, everyone leaving at 12:30 at that mass exodus, that came from a neighbor that was in the area who FBI came to her door, and that was her statement that she told them. She says, I was here, I seen a huge mass exit around 12:30, a bunch of cars leaving. We look at this footage, at the fire cam footage, and it looks as though there's other people. Hi, Chris, it's good to see you. It looked as though there were other cars out there. Did they see something and did they just decide to leave the scene too? I mean, that, like I said, if you're just witnessing a car accident, you have no legal obligation to do anything. From what I've researched, if I'm wrong, I have no problem saying, oh my gosh, well, thank you so much for showing it to me. I am very good with criticism, guys. So if you guys have anything in your comments section or anything like that, feel free to share your thoughts or what you know. And I have no problem hearing it or taking it in. The people saying she was so wasted probably thought the truth would never be found out. And I think that's highly possible. Can I just show you guys another thing that I had found over the weekend that I thought was interesting and in my opinion could be used as a way to discredit all of us web sleuths? Do you guys want me to show you that? And then I'll just conclude everything for the day. This was the same news agency that shared with us that information that we've gone over in the past live streams, and some of the media reports that I even showed in this live stream came from this local news station out of Truckee, like Tahoe area. Over the weekend, they put out this article, and apparently it's written by one of the girls. Remember when a picture of some girls in a car was in black and white? So this article is written by her, October 13th. And the news source, if you guys recognize, it's Moonshine Inc. But she's just talking about how, let me summarize it. Her picture with her friends was going around, and it was claiming that she was at the party. And it's basically saying her experience with being kind of tied to this, even though she wasn't there. She's pretty much saying like, they thought that I was there, but it wasn't that night, or it was that night, but it wasn't at that party. And my face was going around the internet, blah, blah, blah. And people were thinking that it was me at the party, and it was me at a party, but not the party. So it's just her experience of, in her opinion, she was just being harassed by people. And Ryan Upchurch just says was making videos of me blah, 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 blah. Hundreds of comments on Instagram, messages through Facebook, people warning me or praising Ryan Upchurch. My friend who was in the photo with me, the one whom Upchurch claimed was Kiely, was also being flooded with messages. So she pretty much goes on and on and on. And the whole thing about it is, in my opinion, they're trying to discredit YouTubers. And yes, there were some people with outlandish accusations and theories and literally conspiracy theories. I don't believe that this channel was ever going down the angle of not having a basis for some of our theories. So we here used a lot of the interviews from media, from the people who were at the party, as our evidence that we were scanning through until the science came out in this autopsy report. And that's just how it is. Like I said, Sammy put herself out there. She's the one that was saying inconsistent statements. She's the one who left her drunk friend there. She's the one claiming she spoke with her after we all know that her phone was off. I mean, if I can't call somebody out for claiming that they spoke with somebody who was already, passing away in the water, then what kind of country is this? I mean, I'm happy to live here with freedom of speech. So I'm sorry, Sammy, if you think that you were harassed. Look at this. Hold on. Today, the speculation and conspiracy theories have died down. In my opinion, it hasn't, so I thought that was interesting. And Kiely has been laid to rest. What I went through was nothing compared to the harassment that Kiely's friend Sammy Smith, Kiely's family, and other friends went through. Yes, I don't agree with Kiely's family being harassed, but I do not think that Sammy, on this channel, Sammy being called out for lying, that's not harassment. That's the funny thing, and I've had this conversation before, people claiming that you're harassing when all you're doing is calling people out on their lies or inconsistent statements. So here, like I said, this whole thing is, in my opinion, just a little bit of propaganda to kind of shut us up. And that's my opinion. If you guys don't agree, then that's fine. Many of them left social media completely in order to escape the harassment and conjecture. While the disappearance of Kiely showed us the power and the compassion of the Tahoe community, it also showed us the power and the danger of the internet. I'll never post again without thinking about what the photo could lead to, how it could be misconstrued, or how it might look out of context. In the end, it didn't matter to the internet that I wasn't even there. Well, honey, lesson learned. Welcome to the real world. Everything you put out there on the internet is out there forever. That's why you put things on private. That's why you don't show things to anyone who's friends or family. I'm just this whole article, I'm are you kidding me? I'm sorry you had to go through that. But nobody on this channel harassed Sammy. I can say that. It might look like we were picking everything she said and did apart, but she put herself out there and she contradicted a lot of her stuff. So I just think that this was another form of the community to kind of hush things and discredit people who thought that this is more than just Kiely drove in there by herself, drunk or whatever, And it's interesting that this friend talks about defending Sammy. Sammy threw Kiely under the bus more than one occasion and painted her as a liar to her mom and somebody who was driving drunk, when we can't even fully say that that's what happened, because we don't know what level of she was drunk. So Sammy's painted Kiely as somebody who would do that when we don't even know, based on the science, if this alcohol percentage is from her being drunk. So that's terrible for Sammy to have done to the victim. And two, she stated that early on that Kiely was going to told her mom that she was going to be the designated driver so that her mom would let her go to the party, which basically is saying that Kiely was lying to her mother so that she could go to the party, and she wasn't being the designated driver. She was actually intoxicated. So I don't want to hear anybody say oh, poor Sammy. No, poor Kiely. If Sammy had done the right thing, and who knows, You know, did Sammy actually leave her like she says she did at 12:25? I gave her a hug at 12:25. I don't know. It's just a lot. But anyways, guys, what are you guys thinking? That's pretty much all I had to share. I don't know when we'll get more information on any of this. You know, we do have other reports from other agencies, CHP and FBI. So I can't wait to hear the one and only Barbara Butcher on this one. Oh, I agree. She will give us some facts. I agree for sure. And honestly, I felt like this autopsy information in toxicology made more sense than Shanann Watts from the Watts case, but not the best case to kind of compare transparency to. But Sammy is a liar. Her brother was at the party. She didn't need a ride. Sammy, at the very best, is a goofy dope who felt the urge to try to make the center stage, figuring it was an opportunity for the world to know about the wonder that is Sammy. A lot of people think it was all attention and clout. Thank you, San Diego 420. Kiely is the one who was failed and she's the victim. I agree 100%. But guys, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I am scheduled to do some more live streams on other cases, obviously, which are always a focus on this channel. So we're going to do Debbie Collier and Quentin Simon this week as well. I'm hoping to have Kelly from CDT join me as a guest, and we can kind of dig together through those cases. There hasn't been new information on Debbie or on Quentin, sadly. So I guess if I do a live stream, it'll just be a deep dive and kind of bounce my theories off with CDT's theories. And she's always a good source of information and just discussing things with. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Please give a like on your way out, and we will talk very soon. Okay, bye guys.